Alright. Took me a second to get everything situated. And let's hope that the camera is working. Whoop. That was weird. Try again. There we go. I exist. Alright. Smudge on my glasses. And let me get... I don't usually need to do this, but let me move this over. Is this gonna reach without hitting? I may have to reposition myself here. And then nope, I don't want that. I don't want that one either. That'll work. Okay. Now I'm gonna be using my Wacom tablet for at least some of this. And the best way I figured out to capture that is that you guys are going to have a clone of my screen. It just won't show any of my like Photoshop UI. So effectively, that's kind of in my way at the moment. Hang on, let me move this. That's just going to be there for right now. Effectively, the plan is for, where is it? Widgets, UMG, combat. I guess we could just go UI, probably. Did I put that under UMG combat? Oh, weapon side. There it is. Alright, nope, that's still the wrong one. I mean, it's kind of related. Head counter, combat damage text, main, yeah, here we go. So, it's probably not super visible, but basically, and I'm referring to the guns not being super visible. Oh no, they show up alright on stream. Basically, we need to create a UI element around this. The idea is for it to be more or less a there's some shmoo on my pen display. Hopefully that won't be a problem. Could you get out of my way? Since it's designed like an EKG here, I want it to have sort of like a monitor to it, but probably be kind of like old and rusty. So I'm planning like a metallic border of sorts around this guy here. And then right now this layout is what do you call it, like not that close to what we'll end up with. Right now currently this is supposed to be the pistol is supposed to be the slot for the primary weapon that's active, and then whatever your current like offhand stashed but equipped weapon would be down here. But I'm planning in the final UI that it'll probably all be just kind of one unit horizontally over across. I was playing back and forth on this, so I'm still not fully sold one way or the other. But we also have to have room for a couple other elements, so we'll probably be tacking those on. Let's see. But this is about the only stuff that I did last week when I was planning to work on the UI. And it was this EKG HUD. We have an ad break that we got to sit through. And then we will focus on this stuff. So once we get out of this, we'll work on the UI. We should be, yeah, we're back from the ad break. Okay, let's see. Okay, so yeah, so I worked on this last week, and it has some advantages in how I set it up. There's not an easy way to change it right now, because it's kind of all like function based. But basically, the EKG kind of health bar has been kind of prominent, at least in some of the older Resident Evil games. I think Grace had one of the health bar, either Grace or Leon. I think only one of them had it, had that style health bar, because Leon had his circular one in RE9. But as far as I could tell, it has historically always been like a scrolling texture, which is an efficient way to do it. But I wanted to have a little more control over it. And so this is actually a material. We can actually kind of break it down a little bit. So, because I built the HUD in a series of widgets. This actually contains two different things. One is the shield status, which is the lower blue bar down here. And it's, I say shield, it's really armor, but internally I'm just calling it a shield. And this is actually probably going to change. I'm thinking in the long run, I'll probably represent like a stamina bar along here, since that's semi-tangential to like health in a way. And then do the armor as like maybe like a body armor icon near the HUD. But the EKG in particular, the text is on this widget. All that's really in here is the controllable bar. So it is. I made a post about this actually on Twitter, and then I actually posted the shader code on Patreon. The bar here is materials adjustable via a material instance. So if I do like this, so you can spin it off into an instance, and you can adjust all these different values in here to make it go faster, to change its color, of course. You can increase the number of beats to it, the thickness of the line. It can actually end up looking completely ridiculous if you adjusted these too much. And then that is getting layered over another material that is creating the background. Oh, it's opening on my other screen. So that's this guy. And I made it as a material rather than a texture because that means I can easily recolor it without like straight up swapping images. But also I can, if I change its size or scale, I can really easily adjust the grid pattern to fit whatever its new size or shape is. So that makes that easy to reuse, and it will likely see use in other parts of the world. So those are the basic layers of that. The rest of this is just some text elements and some empty boxes and spacers to kind of get the text where I want it. The text is designed to be dynamic, so that if you say, my idea in general is like, if the player is running or fighting or whatever, I can increase the beats per minute. It won't have a mechanical reason. It's more of just a flavor, a little extra pop here. But the UI will react to it, and then like when that BPM increases, the heart rate on the monitor will increase, and when it decreases, it'll go down. And then the SPO text is tied to, it is tied to the health, or no, I may not have tied that one yet. I think I was going to tie it to the health, but I don't think I've done anything with that one. But this is a pretty basic little widget that's just getting loaded in with this HUD. And so I need to create everything to go around this. So, with that in mind, I'm thinking that, let's see, vitals monitor, can I get like an easy screenshot of this guy? Let's just Let's put it in the directory with the UI. And then that should let me load it in as a reference. Onto Photoshop. So let me see. Layers. Okay, well that doesn't need to be that big. That can change to that. And we're gonna start with the main bezel. So honestly, we can turn all these down. And I'm gonna put this one behind it. And just say HP reference, and then file, it should be edit place. Right, is it under, nope, I guess it is under file. Oh good, geez, lag. Yeah, place embedded should be fine. Come on now. Okay, and then, oops, what is it? They got mad about something. What the hell is it mad about? Let me try that again. That's interesting, because I thought I measured this in such a way that this would fit. And I guess it does that way, but it doesn't fit vertically, which is strange. Hang on. Did I accidentally make this? No, not even. I was thinking perhaps I had miscalculated. I mean, I clearly miscalculated, but I was thinking that I had done it differently. Interesting. That's quite strange. Vitals monitor. I mean, I guess I don't really have the exact. Well, vitals monitor selection is 250 by 96. Ah, well, that's unfortunate. If that's the case, then I need to make some adjustments. Let me click on the artboard here. I don't want it to be exactly that size. I'm gonna have to put more guides on this thing, I think. View guides. View. New guide. Did I thought I saved. New guide layout, that's what it was. Default. Load preset? I thought I saved a preset. Oh, you know what? I did save a preset, but I saved it, saved it at work. Well, like on my other laptop. There should be 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should, oops, it should be a 4x4. I guess it would just be 2x2. And then this would be, what, maybe 48 by... And that's peculiar. Okay, that might work. think that guide will work. And then I need to lock this layer. Honestly, we'll just lock the whole thing on that one. And okay, that should do for that. And then so what I'm planning to rely on here is a texture UI method called 9-slicing. I've never actually made a 9-slice texture, but I kind of understand how they work, thankfully. And so basically, the idea of a 9-slice texture is, I don't know if my mouse is gonna be super visible for the stream, but basically you can't have like a lot of unique details on it. Anything that we want to be unique, like say rivets or fasteners, scratches, text, will need to either be within one of these corners of the element, or will need to be added on like as another like widget layer in the engine after it's been 9-sliced, because the idea is that it's able to, I don't know exactly how the engine does it. You tell it it's a 9-slice, and it's able to effectively stretch without like major, assuming you've textured everything right, without any major distortion across these sections here, which allows it to be scaled better without losing detail. So we're going to see how this works in the long run. I need to if we want this to be in good detail, actually, I'm gonna put the monitor bezel background down below, because I may put like a dark fill background on the texture just so that it's not completely transparent if it's not like a perfect fill or a perfect match. Going back over my notes here. I think I got the detail about the stretch wrong. It's actually, it only stretches horizontally. It doesn't stretch vertically. Or it can. Depends on how you set it. I don't remember. But the point is that, like, basically, it's not going to show my cursor on that screen. Tell you what. Let me just do this here. So, let me view the artboard on screen. And then can I zoom out just like a smidge? Cool. Let me do it like this. So basically, why would it? History brush tool. Oh, that's color replacement. Just a freaking paintbrush. There it is. That's an adjustment brush tool. Photoshop, why have you gone and changed your UI? That's a pen tool. I don't want that. That's the gradient, which means the other one's a paint bucket. History brush tool. What does that even mean? Brush tool. Here we go. This is what I wanted. Jesus. Okay. So, just as a point of reference. So basically, like, right here, a 9-slice texture, if I'm remembering correctly, doesn't stretch. Or does stretch, it like stretches in both directions. So you got to be careful with what you put in the center. And then this this guy here can stretch vertically, and then this can stretch horizontally, but the corners here will not stretch. So you have to make sure that anything that is in any of the stretching areas is capable of like stretching over a larger image without looking super distorted. Actually, I'm going to lock this guy. And then that'll give me something I can turn on later if I need to make that explanation again or anything like that. So, with that in mind, the first goal is probably, let's see. I'm gonna fill that with our foreground color, and then actually, hang on. No, that's not what I want. Let's see. We want it to be ever so slightly feathered, I would say. And then we can fill that's more of that than I thought it would fill, actually, if I'm entirely honest. Or no, less of that than I thought it would fill. But I would say that's fine, because we don't need it to be in the outer ridges here. So then in our base color, I'm gonna go with maybe something like that as my starting color. And so I'm going to fill this, the foreground color, and then We don't need to copy it or anything like that. We just need to clear it out. And let's get a more thorough fill on that, if at all possible. A little better. It's still pretty heavily feathered, but I think that'll be fine. Let's see. I could use... I need, let's see. let's see. We're going to ad break, so we shall return. That's not what I wanted to do. Nah. Maybe this guy? Okay, so I kind of need to establish. I think we're back from the ad break. Yeah, looks like we are. I kind of need to establish a art palette, or like a color palette, that I can easily reference. And I think. Easiest way to do that is probably going to be to create. Can I? No. Control. No. No. Okay, fine. I'll do it like this. Artboard tool, and I'll probably just draw one like right here. Just call this one color palette. Helps if I spell chip. That's not even spelled correctly, but it'll be fine. And I'm gonna take a brush. Oop. We do need it to be a hard brush. And slap that down, and to select the pixels on the base color, and my intention is to... Can I do it? Yeah, is to layer mask everything in that group. Excuse me. Whew. So that should mean so I can come in here all day long and fiddle with this. In fact, edit, fill. Cool. Because then, what should be able to happen, if I'm not off base here, oh jeez, is that I should be able to kind of start to draw on this. Let's see. I think the easiest option first would be to start with like shadows, maybe. So that's gonna be, let me see what I've got in terms of brushes. Let's see. Firstly, I need a darker gray. Could you, there we go. I don't want to go like crazy dark right off the bat. So I think I'll try that first. And then I do have to switch to my layer every time I want to do that. Okay, so brushes. What do we got in the way of brushes? Okay, let's try this tool, or this brush. How's my pen? There it is. Hello, Amber. I see you're trying to catch Pokemon. Let's see, so no fart redeem, huh? I'm doing well. Let's see, so let's try. I guess the shadows would start down in here. You were making a quiet arrival? Stealth mode for some reason. What am I working on? I am starting to work on a UI element for the game. Let me just kind of do that little shade there. And I need to hand paint some textures for it. We'll see how that ends up going, because it's also using a technique I'm not super familiar with outside of concept. So this is the current version of the UI. It doesn't have anything fancy to it, but it does load in. So the health meter is designed to look like an EKG. Oh, and there's the player model. He looks very sweaty right now. I haven't quite sorted out the skin shader, so he looks like a very sweaty dude. But yeah, so the EKG meter. And it consists of a few different pieces that make it all work. This is actually a line that is completely adjustable. I can come in here and I can adjust how fast it moves, how many bumps are in it, like the beat density. Like if I did this up to 5, it would become like that. I could also increase the rate. I can just speed on along. I can do the color. The idea is... No, I didn't change anything. The idea is very similar to some of the Resident Evil games. Had a similar health bar, but the way they've always, as far as I know, accomplished it is that it's like a scrolling texture. It's just basically an image, and it just scrolls across, and then there's a few variations for when you're injured. They might color it dynamically, but it's just a texture. I wanted to be able to like make it beat faster under certain scenarios. There's not really a mechanics reason for it, but it adds a nice touch, I think, in terms of like a visual flair. So if the player's like running, the BPMs will go up. So it needed to be dynamic. It couldn't just be a texture. So I made all this dynamic, but it's supposed to look like an old like EKG monitor. So I decided it kind of needs like a metal frame around it, and I also need to kind of make the gun UI and everything over here, like your weapons UI and everything, look nice. There's a few other elements to the HUD that need to exist, and that has to be done as a texture. And part of that, let me close some of this out here. Is, if I can get this to open up here. So I need to use what's called a 9-slice method. And so basically, what a 9 slice is, so I can find an example here. Well, this is from Roblox, but it's still technically valid. So 9 slicing is a UI technique. Here, we'll look at this. That you can use to create something that can be scaled. Because when you deal with a texture in a game engine, and this is for Unity, but it still applies here with what I'm trying to do. Let me just open the image because that's all I really care about on this screen. So if you look at the image I have on the screen, the way this would basically work is you would define it as a 9 slice, and then your if you had to have your UI elements at different ratios, like heights and widths, but you needed them to use relatively the same graphics, they'd be on here. And so the corners A, C, G, and I do not stretch. They stay proportional. They don't alter at all. The image will stretch along the outer borders, which is your H, your D, your B, and your F. So your D and F will stretch vertically, and your B and H will stretch horizontally. And E generally needs to be able to either stretch in any direction, or I believe it needs to be repeatable. Let's see what Wikipedia said about it. Yeah, so it's 9 slicing or 9 patch, 2D image resizing to proportionally scale it. Corner pieces 1, 3, 7, and 9 not scaled. Vertical edges 2 and 8 scaled horizontally. Like I said, 4 and 6 vertically. Yeah, and so 5 has to be scaled both horizontally and vertically. And then the pixels in the middle part are repeated. So generally you want either your middle section of your image to be transparent, which is easily a repeatable texture, or you want it to be just a repeatable image. It's cool to know that's a thing for games. Yeah, so I've never used it as a method. I knew it exists. I know of it. I've never tried to use it. So this is my first time trying to design a UI element that can use that method. So I'm not really sure if I will be able to do it correctly. We shall see. But that is what I am attempting to do. There's my brush. Is I'm painting a texture for that. And then should get a lighter color. It's over on this screen now. Let's go with this guy. And I don't have a great setup for this at the moment. Okay, let's see if I can do this. So the highlights should kind of start to come in along this edge. And along here. Sample that. And let's go. With maybe this guy. Ah, crap. And then does that not work on a, I guess that doesn't work on a, it's meant to be a smudging brush. Let's do, that's gonna be too much, I think. Right? Yeah, no, I can't draw on that. That's good. It's just getting a little more over the edge than I was expecting it to. And then I didn't hold down long enough on those other colors, so with pressure and everything accounted for, that may not have been dark enough to be proper color samples on those. So that's a little awkward. Well, that should be okay. And then we're gonna make this guy be honest, I don't have a lot of brushes. I feel like I had more at one point. Thank you for the lurk, Amber. I have spatter brushes, but I don't think those are really what I need for this. Oops. Yeah, so let's... get this in here. Get this. And then another layer. Okay, and this is going to seem like I'm covering all that up, but I'm actually going to adjust the blending on this layer. So we're going to set this guy to... darker. And then let's set a smudge. Pull in a smudge brush. Blender should work good. Okay, let's see. It's starting to like be vaguely metal-ish, like a painted metal. I think the larger issue is I didn't realize I didn't really have a lot of brushes installed. I could have swore I had more Photoshop brushes. But I was apparently mistaken. Let's try some of these spatter brushes. Oh wow, these are rather large. Okay, and then our best bet's probably to come in with a smear on them. And do a scratch blend. And then, boop. Actually, let's sample a lighter one. Give it something to blend. And then what we should be able to do is if we take, oh, I don't know, probably these darker colors here. And I'm also going to adjust this layer as well. should be able to do, kind of with the smudge, drop the strength down. And then, oh shit, no, not that. Damn. Edit. Undo mask. This needs to be an effects layer. Let's see what my blending options are. Where the hell did that UI? Oh, there it is. It was not there when I looked a second ago. So let's see if we give it like a bevel, as well as set it up as like a multiply. No, those aren't going to be good metal patterns, so we don't need a texture. Emboss. Okay, that is kind of doing. Something like that. And then, oop, oop. I do want to establish each of these. Okay, we are going on an ad break. I just want to fill this last corner. Excuse me. Okay, I believe we are back from the ad break. Looks like. So, let me get back onto this. So yeah, I've set up those corners, and then what I want to do is I'm going to try to group these going forward as the different sections. So again, you guys can't see this part of the UI, but and then if I select pixels and then the group and do a mask, that should let me keep anything I do there isolated to those. And then I'm also going to create another group. And this is going to be horizontal group. I should be able to go ahead and mask that. It won't have anything in it yet. And then the same can be done here. Vertical group. Mask. Cool. So that should make it pretty easy for me to make sure that my brushes aren't going outside of an area. And then, let's see. I'm going to sample this guy. I'm going to do a fill. of the foreground color. I'm also going to do a stroke of the foreground color. We'll say at like 5 pixels. Because we've already got the things cropped out, so we can't accidentally darn it. I need to do that on this layer. I keep waiting for this to pop up on the screen I'm on and not over there. And then something like that, and then okay, and then back. Okay, let's see. There's a lot of straight lines required, so I'm probably gonna have to start like using selection tool to like or the shape tool to create those additional like layers and stuff. I'm also debating on if I need to go find like more brushes to give me more of a metallic look. I cannot quit yawning. Oh, if because I think a couple of you guys have not been in here recently. I have a affiliate code now for a coffee brand. If you're a big coffee drinker, you can get a like a VTuber coffee brand. You can get 5% off of that. I have a mug that I got of theirs that I wanted to start using. I could probably have used the coffee. The mug got damaged in shipping though, so they are sending me a new one. But the coffee itself, I got the whole bean one, so that I could grind it, because I have a grinder. Okay, so I need to try to find like some additional brushes, I think. Oh wait, here's a brush set. This might work. Let me download a brush set potentially and give it a shot. Let's see here. Brushes. Hello? Brush menu. There we go. Brushes. Let's create a brush. How do I import brushes? There we go. You need to import brush from here. Sweet. Okay. Let me see here. These are our special effects. Let's see. Soft feather, texture paintbrush, cross hatches, graphite. Okay, let's see. Oh, wait. Oops. Try here. Oop, too big. Let's do something like that, and then let's put it here. We'll just drop the percentages down a bit. And then could have a new section in here. I'm just call this Greebles. It's not really what it's going to be, but it's kind of what it's going to be, because I'm going to try to do some additional shaping in here. So we'll say trying to square it off. Actually, the easiest option then might be to try to do this. And then that should be transform selection, I believe. It seems to snap there, but then the sides don't look like they're quite split even. Oh, it's because they're not. Nope. There we go. This is what I was looking for. Kind of. They're still not gonna 100% unless I do it. Like... I think that'll be fine. And so then for this, let's make it a stroke. Let's make it, where the hell did my mouse go? Let's make it nice and dark. I don't think it needs to be 10 pixels. 6 pixels is probably fine. Oh, that's right. I had changed this. And then we select blending options. Let's try to make this look like it's a inset ridge. So that's going to be an inner bevel. Actually, no, that's going to be the outer bevel. We do need to focus on how deep we want it. Don't really want to soften that at all. And then yeah, but it'd be better that way. Do something like that. Okay, and then we put in Set this in. And then crud. Eyedropper tool. And then smudge tool. Okay. And then we should be able to bring that in with a multiply. Drawing on this tablet in this position is not great for my back. Wish the arm was just a bit longer. When I reorganize my office, I'll have to relocate it. Let's see. Let's see. What if we do like do like a selection on can I copy this mask? And then this is the one. I'm gonna copy this mask to it. No, sorry, this mask. Nope, that didn't do what I wanted. No, cancel. Let's do... create a new layer in here. Okay, I can't do that. Let me copy this. I guess I would do this and then that kind of did what I intended, but also not really. Guess I can't mask this. Layer mask hides effects. Okay, that kind of did what I wanted. And then foreground color. And then can I easily mirror that? And then I guess I'll just do it like this. We just started an ad break. Okay, we're back out of the ad break. And then, okay, so copied and mirrored that over. I want to see if I can add this, and then but I only really want I guess it'd be the inner bevel. That's what I'm looking for. I won't put much there. It doesn't really need to. And then I think what I'll do is I select this guy, and I kind of want to have a bit of like a, let's see, crud. Okay. We'll say, maybe like that. And then, although really I was expecting it to be a little rounder. That's probably better. Let's get a sample. Fill. And then we do that. Deselect. Oops. Layer via copy. Retransform. Retransform. Oh, hang on. I'm gonna have to select it from here. Oops, to do the free transform, because it otherwise just tries to do it in that one corner. And then deselect, merge down. Layer via copy. We're going to repeat the same exact thing. Retransform. Flip vertical. Deselect. And merge down. I just realized my mic was kind of pointing away from me. Merge down. So that should give us a pretty uniform look there. And then we can do select pixels. And we can do a fill just to kind of make sure that we're not missing anything. Do that, and then blending options. That's interesting. I kind of need it to be an outer bevel. We'll crank the opacity way down. I think that'll give us a direction to go with that one. Okay, put that layer on, and then divide. The corners, I think, are still going to be a kind of tricky one to do, and this is still not, I'm not completely happy with the rest of this either. I probably need to start putting in like some grungy, rusty colors would be my best next direction, I think. But I still want to do something to those corners before I start trying to go in with anything additional here. Let's see. And then let me do this really light color here. Oop. Let's see. Let me undo that. Okay. It definitely needs some additional detail. Let me add a folder for some grunge details. Cancel. Okay, there we go. That puts a selection. I know that the chat didn't see any of what I was just doing, but that puts a selection around an additional group for layers so that I can start kind of doing maybe some like rust details, for which let's go with kind of an orangish color as our starting point. Maybe even like something like that might work. And then we need to like super reduce this down. Okay, so where would I'll tell you what, let's do something like this. And like that. And then where is it? It's gonna be a filter, I think. Filter, render, clouds. Interesting. Okay. I'm really surprised it didn't do the colors. Let's see. Not using HDR, so that shouldn't really be affected. And then we can do do that. And do like a sharpen, unsharp mask. Okay, we need to also add some noise. Start with a dust and scratches setting. And then add noise. Distribution should be Gaussian, monochromatic. 12% is probably fine, 12.5%. Yeah, okay. Probably won't do it that way. And a little extra dark color here for a little bit of extra randomness. And then boop. its intensity is too high. Okay, and then okay. Okay. That's all. It's too rusty now, but I think we can kind of start to build on it. With any luck, I'll get like faster at making it too. For the other UI elements, but we are about to hit the 3-hour mark, and I would like to get us closed out before we hit a ad break, which we have coming up here in like 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes. So I appreciate everybody coming out. You guys were all lurking. Let's see. I think we should be pretty much good to close out here in a minute. I'm looking to see if I have any raid targets online. And I don't really see anything that's not drastically different from what we've been doing here. So, for that matter, I'll probably just go ahead and end stream. Let's see. I mean, it does look like Wingless has just gone live. He's just chatting right now, although he is, I think, going to be playing games later. So, I think Amber's already gone over there. We'll just do this. Oh, he doesn't allow me to raid. For whatever reason. Alright, well then. I'm just gonna call it quits. Have a good night.